have the printed one. And I will. Yeah, this is one of the changes. Oh, great. Okay. So this is great. I see. Right. So is this cool? Great. Yeah. As long as it's current, then yes, that's good. Then you guys can go down. Let me have.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. There's so much wonderful energy in this room. It's just brimming over, bubbling over. So good morning. My name is Marjorie Wormser. I will be your Sunday associate today. And welcome to the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, where we covenant to weave together the fabric of community from the strands of our separate lives. We are an inclusive, welcoming congregation. We are radically inclusive and social justice minded, and whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here in this room and online. We adhere to the principles of Unitarian Universalism, which you can find in you can find it in the newcomer card that is in the slot of the seat directly above you, in front of you, and please feel free to take this along with you. Additional information is at our welcome table, which you passed when you entered the main doors. This is a great time to silence any noise-making devices. I'm going to do mine as well. Put those phones and other devices on vibrate, please. And in a moment, I'll share some announcements, but for now, in the space of 1 minute, okay? Gabor knows what's coming next. I'd like to invite you to greet someone you didn't come with today. It could be an elbow bump, it could be a quick hello, but we're going to do this for just 1 minute. Okay? Please. Special announcements? Okay. Okay. Good morning. Thank you for welcoming one another so warmly. It's one of my favorite parts of a Sunday morning here at the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I have a few brief announcements to share now, and then there will be some special announcements from Reverend Joel and our president, Laurent Comes. First, there's a slight modification to the order of service that you have in your hand, so please bear with us. Nothing major, but just be aware of that. Our annual support drive is underway, and thank you to the 84 members and friends who have pledged so far. To learn more about the pledge drive, please visit our website, use the online pledge form in Realm, and in addition to that, there will be 3 annual budget financial health sessions to answer any questions you may have regarding the proposed 2023-2024 budget, as well as where the fellowship stands financially. And they will be today in the dining room, out the doors immediately to the right, following the service. Thursday, May 25th at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom, and Tuesday, May 30th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. There will be 3 building project financial sessions in May, and that's for the expansion of our campus, including Thursday, May 18th, this coming Thursday at 7 p.m. on Zoom, next Sunday, May 21st, following our 10 a.m. service right here, as well as on Zoom. Also, Tuesday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. on Zoom. And just a general reminder, we are now having Sunday services at 10 a.m. through the summer. Okay? A single Sunday service. Okay, and let's see. Oh, the Fun Community Connections team is hosting a monthly game night beginning Sunday, May 21st, next week, 4 to 6 p.m. This month will feature Rummy Cube. Please RSVP so we know you are coming. There will be a South Africa photo presentation by Bob Scott and Irene Mendelson on Sunday, May 28th at 12:45 here in this room. 2 more, real quick. The annual congregational meeting where we vote on the budget and our roster of candidates for the board and other leadership positions will be on Sunday, June 4th, following the 10 a.m. service and a light lunch. And finally, the annual picnic will be on Sunday, June 11th, following the service. Come join us for food, games, and fun. Additional information about these and other events can be found on our website, www.muuf.org. Thank you.
I'm going to invite Laurent, the president of your Board of Trustees, to come up. I'm also going to mention as he's coming up, as a congregation, you have a lot going on in the next couple of weeks. Special announcement coming from your board, for example, I think probably on Wednesday. And some of that is mentioned in the order of service. You're doing great stuff, but it's going to take some extra attention from you all here in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So please give it the attention it needs.
Good morning, everybody. So the special announcements are really special in the sense that we need everybody to participate. So we're talking about, the budget for the fellowship altogether, but also construction of the fellowship hall. This has been, a long, ongoing journey, a dream for a lot of people. 10 years now, and we're ready. We are ready to vote on, a construction budget on this. Now, we want to share as much information as possible before the vote, but it's not easy because there's a lot of information, right? So that's why we're doing those information sessions. So please participate. Next Sunday will be in person, but we'll do a couple on Zoom as well, starting Thursday, which is May 18. Right before, around the same time we'll have those sessions, we're going to publish some documents. We don't want to publish them too early because they need, you need to read between the lines. There's a lot of information to unpack, right? So we want to make sure it's understood. So we don't want to scare people. We want to educate, right? There's a lot of big numbers, scary numbers, good numbers, good news as well. We've had an info session regarding the bathrooms, all gender bathrooms. Seems like we're able to do it, within budget. So that's actually great news, because there was a lot of scary news over the past few weeks. Inflation is playing a scary role in that story as well, but it's manageable. So a lot of information to unpack. So please participate. And one reason, the main reason why you need to participate is if you don't ask the questions before, when it's time to vote, it's just going to be a free-for-all, basically. So on Sunday, June 4th, the idea is just to vote, not to ask questions at that point. No more questions. Now, if there's a last-minute question, we won't ignore you, but we don't have all day on June 4th, right, to go over questions. So questions, at the info session, before, after, you can reach directly, me, the board, the treasurer, anybody on Gateways or DRWW, that's the Capital Camping Group. Anybody can answer questions. We've spent countless nights, evenings, mornings, reviewing numbers, putting beautiful slides together. So we know the stuff inside out because we've been living it for the past few weeks. So we want to share, but you have to be present. That's the main thing. Same thing with the budget. I think Candice wants to share a few words, but same thing. You have to ask questions, otherwise you show up on Sunday, you're like, well, I didn't know about that. It's like, no. Unfortunately, we only have a few Sundays left, to June 4th. So it's kind of difficult to cram enough info sessions. So we'll have a short one today, not the best time, but we have to start. Next Sunday, I don't think we can really do a budget drive, info session because it'll be for fellowship hall. But we have those evening sessions, right? that were shared earlier. But you'll see emails. Again, ask questions. It's just a lot of numbers, and you have to make sense of it, right? Because it's, you know, it's our place, it's our numbers, right? So I'll leave it at that. Candice, did you want to share something? Oh, is there a winner today? Thank you.
Good morning. So, is there anybody here? Good morning. Oh, okay, that sounds a little better. I was like, wait, did nobody come to service today? Like, there's a handful? So yes, what I would like to tell you about budget is this, that to have an accurate budget for next year and be able to plan, we need your pledges in. So as you heard, there's 84 in right now, which means there's over 100 pledge units that haven't responded. I will tell you that I have divvied up the list among the board members. And so if your pledge for the 2023-24 year is not yet in, you will most likely be receiving a call this week. I would ask you to please answer that call or return that call. And remember, if there's a reason you cannot, financially contribute, that's okay, but we also need to know that so that we don't keep calling you and calling you and calling you. You can get what they call a waiver, and you can certainly contact Reverend Joel about that, or send me an email at stewardship@muuf.org, and we will get that taken care of for you. So please respond. I will also say there's a few members who I've been reaching out to check in on because they have not contributed their pledge yet for this year at all. So if you're one of those, please return my call or take care of that. All right, thank you. Joel, will you? So as you recall, we had one drawing a few weeks ago, but we have another one today for those who had their pledges in by last Sunday. Don't pull a blank one.
Yeah, I got a blank one the last time. That was weird.
It was very weird.
Linda DeLapp. Thank you, Candace.
Is Linda here today? Yes. Oh, beautiful. See me after service, please. She gets $150 to a local business of her choosing, a gift card.
Just for pledging by last Sunday, yeah?
Yes.
Such a deal. You guys are awesome. The amazing number of things you've been doing. And the fact that you've been in a capital campaign project for 14 years. And look at the energy you've got this morning. This is great. So it's one of the things, and please excuse my language, but when I was talking to the board last Wednesday about all of the, because they're very busy, as Laurent said, with numbers. I said, you know something? 14 years, some congregations would fold up and just quiver and not be able to function. You guys, excuse my language, but you guys are badass. Some Clara Schumann for Mother's Day from our new music director, Michael Rosen. Thank you. I had a confusing conversation about Mother's Day a couple weeks ago. Newer friend of mine, a guy named Dave, we were talking about kids, and we were talking about life schedules and everything that's going on, and he said, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to fit Mother's Day in, and I was a little confused because, you know, Dave has been a single parent, and I was like, oh, you mean for your mom? But no, he explained it. His mom actually had passed on. She died. And he said, my kids are taking me out for lunch for Mother's Day. I thought, oh, I don't know Dave as well as I thought I did. Yeah, Dave could kind of hear in the pause. Yeah, when I had the kids, my name was Danielle, and he said I've transitioned. And I didn't have any idea. It didn't actually matter to me, except that Dave is just this lovely person, and Dave's kids love him. And I realized, and I said, so you didn't have, when you transitioned, you didn't necessarily have to do Father's Day then. And he said, you know, we tried Father's Day, and it just didn't feel right for us. So because even though I'm Dave, what I was doing was still mothering, even when I was Dave. Which I really appreciated him saying, because when my children were born, their mom actually went to work and I got to be the at-home dad, which I really loved. And at the time, that would have been 30 years ago now, every UU congregation used to have a Mother's Day service on Mother's Day. Did anybody ever have a Father's Day service? No. Made me a little grumpy at the time. It's good to be here. You know, that's one of the reasons I think it's so important for me to have religious and spiritual community, because sometimes there are these complex moments when I'm trying to figure out, can we do that? Yeah, we can do that because it's about love, right? It's about caring for each other. That's why I come to fellowship. I'd like to, I'm going to do, as part of this, the Time for All Ages, I'm going to light the chalice at this time. So if anybody wants to come up and help me tell the story this morning and help me light the chalice, I'd like to have them come up now. Young at heart, children. They're slow. Come on, thanks. I got some helpers coming up. Come on out. Would you like to light the chalice? Come on out. Thank you. I want to blow it out. Give it a good blow. Try it again. Got it. Thank you. We're here. We're going to say our chalice lighting words, and then we can sit down there on the chancel. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Why don't we sit down here for just a moment? I have a really surprising story, a pretty short one, and it might sound kind of confusing. You know, usually as Unitarian Universalists, when we think about how we want to be in the world, we want the world to be a peaceful place, right? We want to be at peace with one another. So would it surprise you if I told you that over 150 years ago, we helped start a war? We did. We helped start a war. The American Civil War. And part of the reason we wanted that war to start was because there were some places where people were enslaved, and we wanted people to be free. It was really, we were surprised, though, at how awful it was. The war, how people died, people suffered. And so after that, some Unitarians got together and said, we want to start a special day. We're going to start a day called Mother's Day, or sometimes we called it Mother's Peace Day, because we didn't want there to ever be a war again. We didn't ever want to be starting a war again. It's kind of a surprising story, isn't it? Yeah. Sometimes our stories are more complicated and surprising than we expect. But one of the things we want, especially on Mother's Day, is to think about a world where everybody's safe, everybody's at peace, everybody can feel like they're cared for and loved. So, and you're going to go to your classes now. We're going to sing to you, and we will look forward to seeing you after the service. Oh, they're staying with us this morning? Oh, well, we'll sing you back to your seats then. I'm so glad you guys are here, and I'm glad you're going to stay in the service. Milestones and passages, a part of the ritual, spiritual practice here at the fellowship. Milestones and passages because all of us have at times the need to be with the people who love us, who care for us, who know us differently than perhaps just our neighbors or the people we might meet on the street. And spiritual practice, because a spiritual practice is a good thing to have, a good thing to fall back on if times are tough or life brings surprises. One of the things as a spiritual practice that our committee on ministry is beginning is our gratitude cards. And we have a bunch of them this morning, and I'm very excited about them. We're inviting one another to write up a gratitude card as a part of these milestones and passages every Sunday. And we'll share some of those today. And I'll be speaking more about them. The gratitude is a great place to begin, whether you are in a moment of great joy or a moment of difficult sorrows or complexities. Gratitude is always a great way to rediscover your ground. We have a gratitude card this morning. Grateful for a son and a daughter, for making life more fun, interesting, and challenging. From Mia. A gratitude card in which we are grateful for Brooke Donaldson for finding us a seat in the congregation last week, because it was really full in here last week. Grateful for Hazel and Franklin for organizing the wonderful Seder. That was really fun, and I really do appreciate your work with that, Hazel and Franklin. I do too. Grateful for Candace for organizing the very successful annual budget drive lunch, the raffle. I was kind of hoping for one of those gift cards. Janine Torciello shares a milestone and passage card. It is with great sadness, she writes, that I share the passing of one of my favorite cousins, Joyce Rizitelil. She had a massive stroke and was taken from us much too soon on May 11th. I will miss her forever. She was very special to me. And I have my own milestones and passages to share with you also. My daughter graduated with a master's degree on Friday. And finally, she's so done with school. And the same day, my beloved partner's mother went into hospice. That was actually just on Friday. So Friday was quite a day. I invite you into prayer or meditation or contemplation, as is best for your spiritual journey. Spirit of life, so many facets, so many faces of the holy. Some folks see God, some see Allah, some see Adonai, others see Brahman, Atman. Others don't see anything at all. Maya, maybe, illusions or accident, maybe space or possibility. Others see mystery and wonder, or maybe they see the hands of loving kindness, or a pantheon, maybe, of quarreling divinity. And so often, I see my neighbors claiming to speak for God, or not God, or speak for the truth. Sometimes I just want to be able to speak with the power of the voice of the holy itself. But then I think I just end up sounding like a lot of people who think they're speaking for God these days. And I think they're talking garbage, and I don't want to do that. But I wish for that one true truth. I wish for the hands of justice to make this world right, to make it fair for all. Sometimes I would just like the hand of God to come out of the sky and just smite some people, especially the people who lie a lot. Just smite them, Lord, if I were real traditional. What was it the Buddha said? Oh yeah, hatred never stops hatred. Only love ends hate. It's hard to be grateful sometimes. But a good day to remember this spiritual practice we share and are starting formally. It's good practice to give thanks. Let us give thanks now then for the children who are with us through the morning. Let us give thanks for feisty neighbors, those neighbors who never stop asking tough, frustrating questions and want the numbers all to add up. Let's give thanks for loyal friends who are rocks in the stormy times of life. Let's give thanks for beautiful neighbors who write, who dance, who paint, create beautiful tapestries. Let us give thanks for plain as potatoes, friends and neighbors who keep us fed, smile, and remember our names. Let us give thanks for the people in our world who know compassion and who feel the anger, like the anger of a mother, and turn it again and again to the work of love. And for those people in our lives who remember to laugh and play, reminding us life's too beautiful, too grand to be thrown away like trash, too amazing to be left only to the workaday worries of the world. And on this day especially, let us give thanks for the women and all of the people, regardless of how they are in the world. Those people who have nurtured us and fed us, housed us in body and mind and soul. Amen. The choir's here, so I'm so excited. Got to hear you guys in a while. We're going to sing together with the choir. And congregation, you're going to sing what's up here, 1069. And if you'd like to see it in the teal, the blue-green hymnals, you can find it in there. The choir's going to sing with us, but they're going to sing an accompanying piece. So, and maybe I'll let Michael explain any more if there's anything else we need to know.
Sure, the choir will sing it once through first, and then you all join in singing them. And we'll just keep singing. I'll make the cues very obvious when we stop. You just have to sing what's up there. But the first time through, the choir will sing it by themselves.
Thank you. You sang beautifully. Will the members of our newly elected Ministerial Search Committee please come forward at this time? Members of the Ministerial Search Committee, you have been entrusted by your people with the privilege and the responsibility of presenting this congregation to ministerial candidates and finding the best candidate, the best minister to match the strengths of this congregation. You will work together intensely. You will get to know each other very well. You will learn a lot about ministry. You will learn a lot about your congregation. You will use all of your skills and all that you are. But know you're not alone as you do this work together. You have many partners in this search. The UUA, myself as interim minister, the people of your congregation, your board of trustees, and ministers, all of us who wish for the best possible outcome of a match, a minister, a settled minister, to be called by this congregation. Give your work careful and prayerful consideration. And now I ask, will you abide by the covenant that is in the search committee handbook? Will you work together for the life and future of this congregation? If so, answer, we will. Will each of you endeavor to perform your duties in the spirit of integrity, diligence, and cooperation? If so, answer, we will. We will. Board of Trustees, I'm going to ask you to stand, any of trustees or officers who are here at the moment. Thank you. Maybe some standing also online. Will you, the members of the Board of Trustees, having heard the promises made by the members of the search committee, will you support them, trust them, and give them what they need to be successful? If so, answer, we will. We will. Thank you. Members and friends of the Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, I invite you to stand in body or in spirit. Stand in spirit at least if you're online. Having elected this ministerial search committee, will you support the efforts of these people? This committee, will you encourage them, give them the resources they need, give them the pledges the fellowship needs for this search, encourage them in their talents? If so, answer, we will. We will. We proudly now, Ministerial Search Committee, and with great hope, declare you are installed in your office as members of the Ministerial Search Committee. Have a great and successful search. May this congregation grow and thrive, and may its mission be clear for all to see as you do your work and as the ministry that follows continues to change and bless this world. Amen. And congratulations, everyone. Michael, we're about to take the offering. What was the name of the song?
Over My Head.
Over My Head.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not what you
Got
think.
that.
Yeah.
And that's the choir's going to sing that?
Yes, they are.
All right.
Yeah.
Come on up, choir. And as they come up, I just want to let you know that the offering today will be split 50-50 with the Interfaith Food Pantry. You can donate via text to give. The number's in the order of service, both online and here if you have it in hand.
Over my head.
Thank you, Michael and choir, for that rousing, uplifting music. On this day we call Mother's Day, I propose that we celebrate the process of mothering. So many people who do not fit the classic definition of mother are devoted nurturers and deserving of our deep gratitude. As a pediatric occupational therapist, parents of the toddlers I treat tend to ask, "Do I have children?" And in homage to the 1970s rather glib response by some men of that era when asked that question, I am tempted to say, "None that I know of." But generally, my response has been that I have many children in my care and none are my own. In the foreword of his 1964 bestseller, How to Be a Jewish Mother, humorist Dan Greenberg advises that Jewish motherhood, in his definition, is a state of mind. You don't have to be Jewish, you don't have to be a mother to treat someone like a Jewish mother. It could be your barber or stylist, your teacher or mentor, your manager or coworker. Anyone can take on this role. Now, according to a 2012 article in the Jerusalem Post, world-renowned anthropologist Margaret Mead is credited with having created the concept of the Jewish mother more than 70 years ago. It all came about in the late 1940s when Mead was involved in a project financed by the American Jewish Committee that studied 128 Jewish immigrant families living in New York City. Now, while Mead never used the phrase Jewish mother stereotype, I think some reporter noticed the study and coined the term. At the time, Mead's findings were accepted as scientifically valid and thus very authoritative. The latest headlines, sound bites, cultural trends seem to suggest that motherhood is in a state of crisis. Mothers are reportedly either leaning in and abandoning kids to nannies and daycare, or mothers are opting out to stay home and steam sweet potatoes. The Jerusalem Post reads, "We're obsessing over whether we can have it all, and we can't. Whether breast is best, it depends. And whether dads matter, they definitely do. We are helicopter moms, tiger moms, attachment moms, lazy moms. We have inspected, dissected, discussed, and critiqued these various forms of mothering, and yet the stereotype of the Jewish mother sits untouched, unexamined, unquestioned." Barbara Greenberg, PhD, is a clinical psychologist specializing in the treatment of adolescents and their well-intentioned but exhausted parents. In 2016, she wrote for Psychology Today magazine about the 20 ways to be a Jewish mother and the many reasons you may want to be one. Like the humorist Dan Greenberg, psychologist Barbara Greenberg clarifies that a Jewish mother is not simply a woman who is of Semitic background and raising her children in a very emotional and involved manner. A Jewish mother can also be a Latino father, a Black mother, or a parent of any culture, religion, or gender identity. So you may be pleasantly surprised and intrigued by examples cited by Ms. Greenberg of the most desirable characteristics of Jewish mothers and what their kids can appreciate about them. Now, while these attributes do not apply to all Jewish mamas and may seem maybe a little bit stereotypical, let's have a little fun praising the oft critiqued. And gentle reminder, every one of us, regardless of our background, our gender identity, this can apply to us too. So Jewish mothers are not afraid to express their love and other emotions. They are rarely cold and withholding, and if they are probably hurt or perhaps not feeling well. Generally, you will always know where you stand with a Jewish mother emotionally. The needs of the family are highly rated. These mothers are unlikely to be missing in action. Family first, food is second. These parents are very detail-oriented. It's unlikely they will forget dates or appointments. These parents are natural teachers. Just as they value education, they value educating themselves about all the important issues that might somehow affect their children. And Jewish mothers teach their kids about being charitable. Most importantly, no one should ever have to be hungry or cold. This one I found rather intriguing. You might as well. These parents encourage their kids to ask questions rather than to follow rules blindly. They encourage their kids to search for the truth and the right things to do, which are not always incorporated into the existing rule sets. Perhaps you can add to this list. So let's celebrate the best attributes of the various mothers and mothering role models we have known. Let's celebrate all who want to nurture, guide, cultivate, heal, inspire, and make this world a better place for all of us. May it be so.
I'm so grateful that Marjorie, actually, she wrote this and offered it. She said, "Could I be helpful with this?" I was like, "Oh my God, this is really very cool." And one of the first things I thought of was my best friend in high school and college was Jewish, and I used to be with the family often on a Friday night for the Sabbath meal. And as a result, I sort of had in spirit, I had a Jewish mother. I also had a Jewish grandmother, and they had survived in Hungary during the Second World War. And the grandmother, I actually called her grandmummy, which was what she liked being called. So I had a Jewish grandmummy. And she would light a candle after the Sabbath meal every Friday. And we never said a prayer beforehand. I think in part because my friend's father was like a nuclear chemist, very smart guy. He wasn't sort of into the whole prayer thing. And I asked grandmommy once about why she didn't do the prayer, because she was pretty observant, and she said, I survived concentration camps, and I learned something there. I don't thank God for the food until I actually get to eat the meal. Then I thank God. She could say that. So I read an article about Mother's Day just last week. A writer, Kelly McMasters, in The Atlantic. Kelly McMasters is a single mother. She was describing Mother's Day, how it came about, the Mother's Day that we now are mostly familiar with. This one came about in 1914. President Woodrow Wilson relented to intense lobbying led by a woman from West Virginia named Anna Jarvis. McMasters describes how Anna Jarvis had a vision for Mother's Day, very much like the one we now have, with a little bit of extra spin in that it was such a great sales opportunity for the American Floral Society that they lobbied very hard for Mother's Day to look like it does. McMasters writes, as a single mom, Mother's Day is a very hard day sometimes. As I mentioned, 30 years ago, I was an at-home dad with my kids, and noticing that Mother's Day was celebrated in every congregation almost every year, maybe less so now, as we understand it's more complicated. But I was pretty irked that Father's Day was completely ignored. I did a Father's Day sermon one year, as a matter of fact, and everybody was really surprised, like, oh, we're going to have a Father's Day sermon. Wow. But when Marjorie sent me what she wrote, I just had this most lovely sense that, yes, we're celebrating we are celebrating women, but other people who do the work of mothering. We can all take on in some way the work and the spirit of mothering and be celebrated and celebrate Mother's Day. And I just was so delighted by that. It sort of took this whole sting out of the issue about Father's Day, Mother's Day. Is there a competition? It's also important to note that Mother's Day didn't start out as a day for flowers and cards for Mama. It actually started out, as I mentioned earlier, as a reaction to the Civil War. Mother's Day initially was the work of the Unitarian and the feminist Julia Ward Howe. She'd been born in 1819, and her mother had died just a few years after she was born. But she was lovingly raised by her father. Her father was a Unitarian, conservative in many ways, but very much a thinker in many grand ways, and a man with much love. Her father gave her also, especially for a conservative Unitarian of the time, he also made sure she had a good education. And that was uncommon in those days. In those days, even among Unitarians, women and girls were often not allowed an education, maybe not even taught to read. So Julia Ward experienced a spiritual crisis and a remarkable freedom at the same time. Her father and her brother died in the same year when she was a young adult. And she found herself on a spiritual journey. And she began to study the writings of Unitarians like Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson, or William Ellery Channing. She attended, and this was, I hadn't realized until I was reading up again, she attended the intellectual salons for women, where the women could have public conversations. And these were hosted by another feminist Unitarian, Margaret Fuller. Now, in those days, before the Civil War, for women to speak in public, shocking, horrible. But for a woman to speak in public and to have political debates, some folks thought that the police ought to be sent in and Margaret Fuller should be arrested. Other people were actually rather snarky about it. Edgar Allan Poe, who was not a Unitarian, but who knew a lot of Unitarians, knew Margaret Fuller and said that this most snarky and mean thing. He said, there are actually not two genders, there's three, women, men, and then there's Margaret Fuller. All because she spoke in public. And she too was educated and quite a bit smarter than Edgar Allan Poe, as it turned out. Just saying. So Julia Ward, by that time, had become Julia Ward Howe. She'd met a Unitarian, Samuel Howe. She became an early feminist. And she spoke without reservation in the same way that Margaret Fuller did. She spoke about women being not just mothers, not just wives, but thinkers and leaders in their own right. When she married Samuel Howe, she also became an abolitionist. She and her husband worked hard to abolish the enslavement of people in the United States. And I encountered this first about 25 years ago, and it's still astounding to me. Samuel Howe, along with Ralph Waldo Emerson and Theodore Parker, who I mentioned a couple of Sundays ago, and 6 other Unitarians, got to know a fellow named John Brown. And you might know of John Brown, who was the leader of what was to be a revolt of slaves, and there was a raid on Harper's Ferry to get ammunition and guns for those slaves so they could revolt successfully. The finances for the food and the initial weaponry for that raid were provided by these 6 Unitarians. Julia Ward Howe, as part of the work of encouraging people for that, penned the words to the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which many Unitarians and others sang as a way of trying to encourage folks to work for, even fight for everybody's freedom in the United States. And in fact, Theodore Parker, for example, was specifically mentioned by several Southerners, including, interestingly enough, one of my own ancestors, and vilified for having worked so hard to start the Civil War, because he went across all of the northern states speaking about the need to free all Americans. If you don't know the Battle Hymn of the Republic, actually, Michael's going to play a little piece of it here now. Some of you know it. Is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Truth is marching on. That's a good, let's go out and do this tune, I think. The Civil War itself was one of the first modern wars, and happened at the same time. It was modern in the sense that our technological abilities had shifted. We could blow things up in a way we couldn't before, and we could take pictures of it also. And when Unitarians saw the horror that we had helped unleash, Julia Ward Howe among them, we were, and she was horrified. After the end of the Civil War, Julia Ward Howe spent the rest of her days advocating for peace. And as a war was about to begin in Europe, she proposed an International Mother's Peace Day. She wrote a Mother's Day proclamation in 1870, and actually you can find it in the back of the hymnal number 573. It was originally a day of one that hopefully would be unifying of all people from all different kinds of background, working together for peace. The goal was, the message was, every mother wants peace because every mother wants the well-being of her children. The privatization part of it, with the cards and the flowers, well, we don't really talk in public about why we want peace, but we just give flowers to mom. That happened in 1914 and a little bit after that. In fact, by an act of Congress in 1914, there's an apostrophe at the end of mothers. Originally, it was after the S. And Congress officially privatized Mother's Day by moving the apostrophe to the inside part of the S. Now, let me say, I'm not going to go all Mother's Day Grinch on you all and say, don't send your mother flowers. I sent my mom flowers and cards, told her I loved her and thanked her. But at the same time, it was important that Julia Ward Howe was working to rescue our children from war. What she would have said was our sons from war. My mom, though, very much appreciates the flowers and the cards, but she's very much a Unitarian Universalist, and she approves of the political action part too. The public side of this day, in which we promote health and peace, both in the privacy of everyone's home and in our public relationships in the world at large. And this is perhaps the opportunity for us to change the narrative of Mother's Day. We human beings are storytellers. We are most spiritually healthy when we can be empowered not to tell our own stories, but to share in the telling of the stories of community itself. And it becomes important for us to be able to do that in a way that all of our children, everyone in their homes knows that they're safe, that they're cared for, that we can be loving and nurturing neighbors to one another. And again, let us all be like Jewish mothers, or maybe Muslim mothers, or Ohio mothers like my mom, or how about Morristown Unitarian Universalist Fellowship mothers? We need good mothering from all of us, regardless if we're a he, a she, a they, a je. All of this world needs us to live Mother's Day and the dreams and the hopes of Mother's Day. Yes, we remember it this day, but let us live these nurturing, loving values as this fellowship does. Let's live them every day. Let's sing together. The hymn I'd like to sing is number 1051. It's entitled We Are. If you'd like to see it in the book, it'll also be on the screen here and the screens if you're at home. And I invite you to stand in body or spirit. Julia Ward wrote, from the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. We have forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war. Let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of council. Let them meet as women to commemorate the dead. Let them then solemnly take counsel with each other as the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, and each bearing after her own time the sacred impress, not of a Caesar, but of the holy. Let the voices of our ancestors and their longing for freedom and peace continue to live through us. Go in peace and be in peace. We'll be together again.